on this swing, watch this. It doesn't look like you're attacking the ball. It looks like your feet go to a spot and the ball kind of meets you there. So this is a waiting offense instead of you going through. Watch what happens with your feet. See how your feet got here, but the ball is falling here? Does that make sense? Not quite. Okay. So you should be seeing the ball and going through the ball. So if you could bring your chest like a laser or, punching it through the ball so that you have max power, now you are attacking the set instead of what's happening right now or what's about to happen on this film. You're getting set. And it's a funny play on words, but you don't want to get a set. You want to attack a set. So watch where your feet end up and watch where the ball is. So if we see this position, this ball is just about to fall over your left shoulder. You're not actually jumping to the ball. You didn't take your step close at the ball. You took them to the right of the ball and you kind of waited for it to get there.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that waiting, now you can't be as aggressive. You definitely won't have as much power.
So does a better version of that look like sort of waiting to see where the set goes and then attacking based on where I see the set?
Yeah, better version of that is actually this play by your partner. Watch how his feet go, and you can do this as a right side as well. Watch how his toes and his chest move through the ball on his attack.
Okay.
That's what you want to do as a right side in most cases. You don't want to just kind of hang and wait for it to get out to you. You have to see it and know when your moment to go and actively and offensively pick it off. So watch how he approaches as a left side here. See how his toes go all the way through. His chest keeps moving through that ball. If you could replicate that as a right side, and you have a slightly different, almost like he did, almost. Okay, so if we take a look at this guy, right? See how his hips are going through this ball? You see his chest pointing at the ball?
Yeah.
When you went, your chest was pointing over here, and then the ball fell on your left shoulder. Yeah, chest and toes through the ball. You have to be the one that's actively attacking it, not waiting for it and hoping it gets over your shoulder. Okay. For some people, it helps if you tell them to like grab and accelerate through their toes when they jump, like grabbing the sand and directing yourself with your last two steps and your jump through the ball. See, this was similar. So you're waiting for that ball to get over your shoulder. I don't know. We probably haven't talked about this at all. It's a unique phenomenon. So here, it looks like your body is shaped to come and drive in this direction. That would be nice. Okay, so left foot's inside. Now you step outside, but the ball is still not quite getting to you, right? And then you, instead of jumping at the ball, you take a leftward, which doesn't make sense, but a leftward jump, right? You don't actively go through the ball. It's falling to your right side. Then you recognize, that set's going to fall on my head. So now you do this lateral inside jump, and you're not having a powerful attack here.
Yeah. No, I've always felt that. Like, I feel like I can be putting more power behind it. I thought maybe I just wasn't opening my hips and torquing them. But I think what you're saying is making sense. I'm just sort of taking a passive approach when you're advocating, like, just go attack it.
Yeah. And the hip torque thing is weird when we talk about hip torque with your body, because you might be thinking what so many people think is that I have to turn my left hip towards the net so that I can throw it at the net.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, close it, and then open it. But you're saying like keep that chest on the ball.
Yeah. So we're gonna do the exact opposite. So I want your hips to go at the middle of the court, your toes and the front of your hips to go at the middle of the court. Yeah. And where you're going to get torque is the separation between shoulders and hips. So even I don't know if you guys can see me on the screen at all, but even when I'm sitting like in my chair, my hips are forward at the chair, but I've rotated here. So you don't get power necessarily from your hips. Your hips are a locking mechanism that, and they're the base for your upper body to rotate around. Okay. It works very differently because in baseball, we're like, oh, well, look how baseball players throw. Look how football players throw. They have the ground to push off on. In volleyball, we use the ground to get our final push so that our hips start rotating in the air as our right arm is cocking back. And then by the time we hit, right, by the time we unload, then we unload with our upper body. That's very different from turning your left hip towards the net and then trying to do like a jump twist. We don't want that jump twist. We want to push by, one other way to visualize it is by getting extra push from your right foot if you're a right-handed player, getting extra push off the ground so that you really feel like if you're standing up, you really feel that boom, like this right hip really accentuates and it punts you forward. And then once that happens, now my right hip's coming forward and my right elbow is dropping back. So one thing that helped me really lock into this was jumping harder off of my right foot, like feeling that I was jumping with extra power from my right foot or squeezing my right glute at the end of the jump. And that's what what torque really is. The hips are the locking mechanism, and your body rotates around that. And we don't have the ground to still be pushing off of like football players and throwing athletes do. So we have to get that last hips forward, not from a mound, but from our jump. And that last jump pushes our hips forward, and then we get to cock back. So
neat. And during that torquing motion, it sounds like what separates my shoulders from my hips is my core, and that's what's going to be activating to help me get power. Is that right?
I don't know what you mean by activating. Like, what do you mean when you say that
Like
your core
my cue.
activates?
What's my cue when I'm doing it? You said jump hard off my right foot. Am I
Mm.
also like feeling it in my core, or am I feeling it more in my like I don't
One
know.
of my favorite cues. I was sitting with Brandon and Ali and JM. They're two of our coaches, and we we were just talking about like good cues to get across to people, and this one hit me super hard with arm swing, and it was basically you just think about there's a piece of glass right here, and you want to break that glass. So you have to add force to it. So you like big, exaggerated like elbow throwback,
Mm.
but you can't leave your elbow there because it's gonna get cut up, right? Like it's gonna get cut up by the glass. So you got to get it out fast. So I think like an exaggerated break the glass behind you will create that motion, the torso twisting motion. Kind of feel like an activation in the rhomboid in your back,
Yep.
stretch in your chest. That's all in the path, the hitting course that we have. But I
Cool.
love the breaking the glass behind you and then trying to get it out your elbow as fast as possible. And I love that you mentioned, Mark, just the quick right glute activation. I think that's something that a lot of people miss because they hear, oh, you're supposed to drive through your hips, so why don't you turn your hips instead, just like the indoor people? And then it turns into like starting completely facing your partner on the left side and then facing away from your partner on the right side. And it's like, no, I don't think that's the right way to do it. Like it's literally just like a quick right glute activation for left-handed hitters, left glute activation. And it's crazy how that just kind of generates power through the rest of your body. So your core is just kind of like a messenger of like, hey, this is what's going on. This is the wave that's coming through my body. And then the elbow coming through is just like the follow through of that message that's coming from your right glute activation.
Cool.
When you do it right, or at least when I did it, and you started really exaggerating it, like your mid back the next day is like locked up. It feels like there's knots because you're really like that crazy separation. So I know you have access to the library. So go through again the standing and throwing videos where we make sure that your hips are locked And that should initiate that feeling, because when we do those throwing exercises, you keep your feet locked, then you rotate, then you swing. And then as soon as, get like 10 throws with a ball, you don't need much more. But when you're warming up with your partner, lock your feet facing him and next to each other. So don't step forward with your left foot. Toss to yourself, break the glass, then come through. And that's the feeling that you should have in the air, where wherever you're hitting for max power, your hips are already facing there. Now we rotate and swivel around that point.